Welcome to Emerging Enterprise and Entrepreneurs to Podcast. I'm your host, Paula Anderson, and today we're going to be joined by Ron Brooks, who is the president of River City Capital, a community development financial institution based in Memphis, Tennessee. So, how are you doing today, Ron?
Hey, Paula, I'm doing great. It's a great day to pod and be on the show with you. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. So, I want to get right into the conversation. So, I want you to tell me a little bit about who you are. What is your background in the financial services industry?
Yeah, so I started in banking in 2002, right here in Memphis. I started while I was in college, so I was a junior in college, and my first role in the bank was in the as a teller at Regions Bank, several banks ago. And after graduation from college, Paula, I went into the management training program, and from there I got to learn the different aspects of banking, from particularly from the retail perspective. And then from there, around 2007, I was able to cascade into business and commercial banking, underwriting, and things of that nature. And was part of the sort of co-founding early days of River City Capital that was formed in 2010. But I was still in the midst of my banking career, and so my banking career spanned all the way to the C-suite. Managed sort of larger retail and business banking divisions with a number of bankers and sort of administrative support. And then in 2021, I had the opportunity to transition to lead River City Capital, which, as you mentioned, is a community development financial institution here in Memphis, or CDFI. And there's two things that we do as a mission focused organization, which is provide readiness for capital, which is sort of more technical assistance education, and then provide access to capital up to 250,000 for entrepreneurs who are often overlooked by traditional lending frameworks. So those are the two main things that we do with our team here in Memphis, and that's really sort of the quick span of my career throughout that time.
Okay, well, that kind of leads me to my next question. So, tell us a little bit about how River City Capital is different from a traditional lending institution and what services you guys provide.
Yeah, absolutely. So, different than say like a banking institution, as you know, a bank is a depository, right? And so banks take in deposit money. That's how they capitalize themselves, and they do lending functions. They invest and do a number of different things, and then when they have a shortfall, they buy money from the Federal Reserve, right? Who provides that capital. Two things that we don't participate in as a loan fund, right? As a sort of more mission-based loan fund. So we have to be very prudent in how we make strategic investments in small businesses to create outcomes, right? Positive outcomes around, how do we reduce blight? How do we help create more jobs for people, retain more jobs? How do we increase sales tax revenue and things of that nature? So we have a six product set currently of six sort of loan products that range anywhere from helping with from a startup perspective to existing businesses to neighborhood impact, contractors, and smaller commercial real estate purchases and acquisitions. And so, with that six product set around that, we work with our various partners and internally, Paula, to provide that assistance to help not just with the application, but to help build what we like to call a more bankable business. A bankable business meaning you are then prepared to be able to go to some of the traditional channels and get capital. But I always like to say, Paula, we add to that runway and sort of extend it so that more people can take off and more people can have access to capital. And so by providing that education and the loan fund working in synchronized sort of fashion allows us to accomplish that. And so we've been doing that now for almost 15 years.
Okay, so what businesses do you guys typically serve and what industries? So, give us some examples of some of your success stories.
Yeah, so we are typically, hey, how you doing? All right. Hey, we're typically funding. So our portfolio is made up of about 80% Black women, first generation founders, and they range everywhere, Paula, from sort of light retail to health and wellness and beauty, to manufacturing and warehousing, um, to some tech sort of areas, to food and beverage. sort of all the way around, different gambits and different industries that uh, folks are typically, a lot of times starting up or they've had for just a small period of time, and now they're ready to use capital to sort of leverage their business. And so, we're excited about that. We look for that to continue, to have a larger sort of women, founder-led organizations and businesses. Not to say that the fellas aren't there. We do have a number of course, men-led businesses, Black men-led businesses, but we're excited about our lady founders and how we're able to help them grow larger businesses. And so, what we really try to encourage is for founders to look at, industries that one help build community and then that are scalable, right? Particularly in today's sort of world. As things have evolved, there's some business models that have sort of maybe reached their sort of max potential, and there's some that are continuing to grow and some that can be redefined, right? And new efficiencies can be created as the marketplace and the customer marketplace, Paula, has changed and evolved. And so we help founders be able to do just that, is, determine, the right industry and how do you build on your industry to add efficiencies that help, drive better outcomes for their clients, and thus they're able to make more money and retain more money in their business.
Okay. So let me ask you a question. So we know that a lot of changes have taken place with diversity, equity, and inclusion. So how important is it now for a community development financial institution to be in the marketplace trying to help out minority business owners to grow their businesses?
Yeah, that's a great question because when you think about our history, we, the more modern version of DEI, we existed before then. So the idea of having, diversity, equity, and inclusion um, is an interesting piece. It's being attacked politically, as you sort of alluded to. But if you just think of it in its essence, right? Any organization, the numbers speak to this, Paula. The numbers prove from a factual perspective that any organization that embraces diversity in thought, diversity in lived experience, um, and have places for equity, right? Places for people to have equitable footing within an organization. And when people are included within the organization and the decision making and the direction, when all those things work in concert, those companies are much better suited and they have higher revenues, right? And have higher profitability. So that's been proven over and over again over many decades. So despite of today's sort of weaponizing of the term DEI, for us specifically to your question, Paula, we have always existed to help those that are marginalized and those that are often overlooked in various communities and emerging market communities around Memphis. And so that will continue. That's not linked to DEI. That's just good business practice. And at the end of the day, business is often about green, right, as opposed to any other color. And so, how do we help people connect more to the green that all of our communities benefit from? So, all communities benefit from Black founders that are able to achieve their dreams and are able to build businesses that create opportunities for other people.
Okay. That was a great response. So let me ask you to tell me a little bit about what are some of the challenges that small business owners face that you've seen as a president of a CDFI and then just over the course of your career.
Yeah, so some of the challenges is one, um, determining, is your business model, does that work for you? And is the business model tied to you wanting to build a business, or is it more about sort of necessity, what they call necessity entrepreneurship, which is you're looking to create a business to fill in a personal income gap, right? So there's a difference between workforce development and then entrepreneurship, right? And where those two sort of intersect. And so a lot of business owners struggle with the idea of I'm creating a business out of necessity to make money to fill personal income gaps, as opposed to there's a model that I want to solve a problem for other people or for a community. right? And those things are difficult to sort of balance sometimes. And so we like to help people sort of navigate that. The other challenge is be able to tie your numbers to your narrative, particularly here. Yeah, sometimes in emerging market communities, especially where we don't have that legacy of training and development and things passed down, Paula. The ability to understand your financials, right? So you create financials not to appease me or any other lender. The financials are for you as the business owner. So for business owners, it's teaching them that you create business plans and financials for you, right? Not for lenders, right? Lender, that's a transaction. You want to be able to drive and build your business. And so we teach founders that understand the numbers and then understand the narrative behind the numbers, right? And so once you're able to articulate that, that helps with any sort of capital person, whether a lender, whether it's venture capital, angel investor, whoever that is, really get a holistic view of your business. And then the other third thing that many business owners are challenged with is understanding your target audience. Who's your true target audience? What do they value? Where do they spend their money? Why are they spending it there? So really doing a deep dive and really understanding the psychology behind their their clientele. And so as business owners are able to better learn sort of those three sort of areas that I mentioned, Paula, they're able to overcome a lot of challenges, a lot.
Okay. Well, that was some really good information. I'm sure our listeners are going to enjoy listening to that. Well, let me ask you one final question as we wrap up our interview today. What are best practices for business owners that are trying to prepare for a loan? What type of paperwork do they need to have in order? And just what is it that they should keep like on a routine basis at any given time if a lender asks them for this information?
Yeah, absolutely. So they definitely should track the sort of transactions that happen in their business, right? As we talked earlier about their financials. So they need to transition from not using some of those sort of third party payment solutions like Cash App and Venmo and that sort of thing. You know, be working and have, you know, a bank account, business bank account separate for your business. So separate your personal transactions from your business transactions and then have that available. So have, you know, those bank statements, you know, available. Typically, you know, lender wants to see about 6 months of those. And then also be whatever you're using to track your financials, whether it's QuickBooks or some form of that, or even if it's just a spreadsheet, right? What ways are you tracking what's coming into the business from an income perspective and then what's going out for expenses? So keep that. Always keep your business plan. You know, Paula, for your audience, your business plan is a living document. Again, it's not just for you don't create it to just give to a lender. You should create it to use for yourself. It's your GPS guide. And so you should update it, right? As you're doing things and you're doing business, update the business plan. And then also have, you know, sort of your marketing, you know, plan, your strategic marketing plan. If ultimately, Paula, what you want to and your listeners want to convince a lender is that it's not about do I need money, right? So you have to sort of shift your thinking. It's not I need money to do this. It's I have a plan to multiply money by doing this, right? So it's a little bit different mindset shift. So, because lending is about leverage, right? Business loans are not necessarily for launch, right? Business loans, you get any loan to leverage an asset to produce larger amounts of income, right? That's why you get a loan to get a car, right? Because now you're leveraging walking to now riding on the roadways, right? You use a loan to buy real estate because now you're going to either live in it or you're going to have someone else live in it that creates income. And so, really being prepared with those things. What's your plan to um, be able to leverage the capital to multiply it is really going to be music to any lender's ears.
Okay, well, that was some really good information as well. Some things that I think I'm going to put into practice as a business owner myself. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about how individuals can contact River City Capital and then any closing remarks that you want to share with our listeners?
Yeah, absolutely. Paula, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you and to your audience. It's always about trust, right? And so to entrust me to speak to your audience means a lot. So thank you so much. To reach us, go to rivercitycapital.org, rivercitycapital.org is the best way to connect with us. There's contact pages on that. You can reach any of us on the team, and we're happy to help and answer any questions. And if you go to the website, you'll see a button for Get Started. So that's where you can begin completing an application if you feel that you're ready to be able to move forward, which we encourage you to. And so those are the best ways to connect with us. Also on social media. So across the various social media channels, LinkedIn, we're on as River City Capital. So you can find us here in Memphis. And then also at RCC Investment. So at RCC Investment, just as it sounds, across the various social media channels, you can find us.
Well, thank you so much, Ron, for joining me today. And I want to thank you again for sharing your knowledge about financial industry and about River City Capital. You have been listening to Emerging Enterprise and Entrepreneurs, the podcast. If you would like to be a guest on my show, you can email me at paulaandersonmedia@gmail.com. That's paulaandersonmedia@gmail.com. Thank you so much for tuning in.